Hello, and thank you for tuning in to McDougall's Medicine with Dr. John and Mary McDougal. I'm their daughter and your host. And tonight, I think we're going to try to get through as many questions as we possibly can. But first, I want to say hello to you, Mom and Dad, Dr. McDougall and Mary. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Hello. Nice to be here. 5 o'clock. We have I actually have a lot of my friends listening to the show, Heather. So we're going to just increase the audience that way. Plus, we did our 51st anniversary of my graduation from medical school today. I just got off the phone with some of my best friends, and I'll tell you, it's not pretty, Heather. I tell you, when I look back and I say to myself, I'm really glad I took care of myself better than I did. I could have done better, but I'll tell you, my best friend. We went to in senior year in medical school. We went to Florida.
You got in all kinds of trouble together. I
got a little trouble, but I was single then, Mary, and Coop and I just had a ball. You know how you do on spring break.
Yeah.
Had a stroke in February, Heather, my best friend. He could hardly talk. And then my other best friend, Brant, I didn't think I was going to see him this year because he got prostate cancer a couple of years ago, and I thought he'd be dead by now. He's still doing well. Last meeting we had, I kind of encouraged Brent. I said, Brent. I said, Brent, you got nothing to lose. Why don't you change your diet? And I gave him, some of the materials that I've given you, and I showed him how prostate cancer, like breast cancer, it changes the course based upon how you take good care of yourself. And I explained to the American Cancer Society recommends that people change to a diet almost exactly like we recommend, just not to the same emphasis. They go in the right direction, but they just don't squeak through the door as loudly as they should. Anyways, I didn't realize, but Brett actually listened to me, even though he wouldn't let us help. And I actually, I'm going to try and get him to join our program that starts on Friday, Heather. I'll pay for it. It's my best friend. I'll pay for it. But I'd like to get him and his wife to join. But anyway, he's not dead yet, but almost. And then another one of our students.
I remember a year ago when you had this meeting.
Yeah.
You were worried that he wasn't going to make it until this year's meeting, and now you said he's doing better. So I think that's encouraging.
Well, he blames it on the treatments that he got from his doctors, which is fine. And he's changed his diet a lot. I could tell by what he said and so on. Then Barbara, oh my goodness, Barbara, she's complaining about being 76. Can you believe anybody complaining about being 76 years old? She's got arthritis so bad she can hardly even do her hobbies and her sports anymore. She likes to quilt. So on, very successful doctors, all three of these men and women were, and they went through medical school with them.
I heard you tell her.
I told her, I said, look,
help her.
I said, Barbara, if you could be here at 5 o'clock tonight, because I encourage you to be here.
Maybe she's here.
You never know. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Brent. Hey, Coop. How you doing, Coop? Don't want to do any more strokes. I did one at 18. I don't want to do it again. It wasn't fun. Anyway, so yeah, it was kind of a bring back to reality, Heather, is, Mom and I are getting old. And, there's only one way out of this whole thing, that. But in the meantime, between now and the next 10, 20 years from now, we're going to take good care of ourselves. And we're going to be with you every Sunday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time on our YouTube channel. And many of you will join us for our 12-day program, which starts in 6 days, 5 days, 5 days. But we still have. Do you have room, Heather, or are you just booked out?
No, we're full.
Well, come on now. You can get Brent and his wife in. I'm sure we'll just sneak them in the back door. Well, anyway, we're going to be signing people up for another program, and our goal is to run a program every week of every month of the whole year long. And I know there's enough people out there that want us. Anyway, the other thing is this is the big week for Leqembi.
Yeah.
Leqembi. Oh man, you guys with Alzheimer's disease, rip roar and get happy. You're so lucky. I mean, they're on there bragging about what a wonderful drug this Leqembi is.
Not
Leqembi,
really. They're talking about the terrible side effects. I mean, it comes with a big warning, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, he hasn't gotten to that part yet. He's just bragging about how the
well, you know,
TV
they're,
makes
they're,
it
they're promo
sound.
people, the doctors they hire from the universities to say how wonderful this is a breakthrough. They showed a 27% reduction in progression of the disease clinically, 27%. Now, I've given you data over the last 25, 30 years about a treatment that's published in the scientific literature that should have gotten far more credibility than Leqembi, which is called deferoxamine. Deferoxamine is an agent that grabs the aluminum out of your brain and your body, okay, published in the 1980s. And the results of a study that was done same way, they looked at progression of disability. Those that got the the desferoxamine, those that got the desferoxamine, they had half the progression. Remember, 27% reduction. Okay, this is a 50% reduction. They got half, or was it 200%? I always get confused on those. But anyway, they report that they were twice as good, those that got the interferon.
No,
Yeah, they were twice as good. They did.
interferon is not what we're talking
Or
about.
desferoxamine.
That's right.
Okay,
You get too many
it's deferoxamine.
You got too many drugs in
Oh,
going
my
around in your
God.
brain.
Anyway,
There's
the
too many
deferoxamine is
mistakes.
shown at a 50% reduction. Okay, they were twice as good at the end of the 2-year study period. The Leqembi is an 18-month study, so it's the study I'm talking about is 24 months. Okay, a longer study, more chance to go wrong, etc. They
Wow.
did anyway. Tell about the side effects of this drug, Heather.
Well, I didn't read them all, but it comes with a black box warning. So I know that sounds bad.
Brain
when
bleeding.
when you hear it has a black box around it, you know it's bad.
Yeah, that was like 20% of people have serious complications. Drug costs $26,000 a year. Deferoxamine's got to be like pennies.
And they even said, even if you have insurance, it's still going to cost you $5,000.
It goes to 5,000. I heard 10.
No, 5.
Yeah.
Even Medicare, you still have to pay $5,000.
No, my guess.
No, I mean it doesn't sound like that much. Does it do the same thing? Does it take aluminum out of the brain, or it does something else?
This is a monoclonal antibody that attacks the tau protein, which is part of the senile plaque, which also contains the core of aluminum silicate. You see, what it is with Alzheimer's, if you look under a microscope, electron microscope, a very sensitive microscope, you look at these plaques, which are pathognomonic lesions for Alzheimer's. In other words, if you do an autopsy or you do a brain scan and you see these plaques, these are pathognomonic of Alzheimer's. In other words, you see the plaque, you got the disease. Okay? Pathognomonic. So you have
still
to.
Bothers me.
You don't like it?
No,
Okay,
because you don't know you have the disease till after you're already dead.
you're dead.
So
That's confirmed in an autopsy. It's confirmed. But you get a good hint as if you
Okay,
rapidly
but
progress
still.
with your disease. 60% of dementia, 80% of dementia is due to Alzheimer's. All right, let me get back to the story.
okay.
You don't have the plaque. If you don't have the plaque, you don't have the disease. If
But you don't care anymore by that time.
well, but your relatives might. And then you look deep inside the plaque with an electron microscope, it has a central core of aluminum silicate. It also has tau proteins in there and neurofibril tangles. And all of these are pathognomonic of poisoning by aluminum. All right, so what deferoxamine does is it goes in and grabs the aluminum out of the brain and the body and pulls it out of the body. So it is a cure. These monoclonal antibodies are not a cure. They don't advertise them as a cure. The treatment I'm talking about is a cure. By the way, I wrote an article to the letters of the editor of the New England Journal of Medicine, which is not likely to get published. And the reason is their study on Leqembi was published in January, and they only take the letters to the editor 3 weeks after the publication. So I kind of try to sneak it in there. I thought since July 6th, 2023 was the date that the FDA approved it, that the New England Journal of Medicine might overlook the fact that I'm I'm promoting this article 6 months later than I should be. I'm asking for a letter to the editor. Who knows? Look, there are other medical journals that I'll write to too, and I'll write the same darn story. And that is that Leqembi is an economic boom to the drug companies, period. It's obscene.
But
What-
it's,
The cost is absolutely obscene.
but for someone who gets this diagnosis, they think, I'll try anything.
And they get a 27% reduction in progression of disease. When I can show them a 50% reduction with something that you buy for pennies, it has no toxic effects. At most you could complain about, and the researchers used to complain, well, you got to give them an intramuscular injection twice a day. Excuse me, you got to go in for an infusion to a hospital or a special doctor's office every 2 weeks to get Leqembi.
And you know why? Because there's so many side effects that they want you in where they can watch you.
If you die in their
Yeah.
presence, you're less likely to get sued. That's one of the mottos of doctors. Let them die in your office or in the hospital. You're less likely to get sued.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they teach that, I think. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Anyway, stay away from aluminum pots and pans. Stay away from these antiperspirant sprays that you use in it. Stay away from that stuff. Poison is not a nutrient. Excuse me. Aluminum is not a nutrient. It's a poison. We used to, 55 years ago, when I was dealing with kidney patients, we put them on the dialysis machine because we gave them aluminum hydroxide. They became demented right in front of our eyes. We've known about this aluminum toxicity for, 60, 70, 80 years. And you look at animal studies, you look at the kidney patients, you see lesions similar to what you get in Alzheimer's. The evidence is overwhelming. The problem is the money, folks. If you don't see it, I can't believe you don't see it. Maybe you're not as close as I am. All right, let's say I talked about, I wake up meeting with my
Your
fellow
friends.
students. Oh, that
Fellow
was sad.
students.
But I am doing better than they are. So.
Well, that made you feel better, right?
Well, in a little way it did, because I really feel sorry for these people.
I know.
And each and every one of them along the way in our lives, because they were friends, except Barbara. I never told her to change her diet to fix her arthritis.
Till today.
I did.
I know.
But Brent and Coop, you heard me, yeah. But Brent and Coop, I've been bugging them all along the way. They were really close friends. And,
The only one I really know is Coop.
the
rest
Coop,
of
he's a
them I
good
don't.
guy. Coop was a nephrologist. He's a kidney specialist. So he certainly knows about aluminum poisoning. So, and Brent, he was a specialist in allergy. Both of them had university positions. Really smart people. I look back and can tell you, I went to the best medical school in the country. We were the first graduating class in 1972. They made a new medical school at Michigan State University in 1972, and I was the first graduate. My class was. Now, I felt back then, I thought, well, it's a new school. I should be going to U of M or Harvard or, some other hotshot school to become a really good doctor, right? Well, now that I look back upon my life and my career, I can tell you what a blessing Michigan State University was. They were new, they were interested in new ideas, they were more tolerant of somebody like me than Harvard would have been.
Yeah, I heard the two stories. He was telling stories with his friends,
Yeah,
his
they
fellow
remember.
students, about how he almost got thrown out of medical school twice.
They remember.
And they all remembered
They all remember. They even knew the
the name of the professor.
the vice president of the medical school who almost threw me out. And they remember Art Foley, who saved my butt.
Yeah.
He was a good guy. He was the teacher in my name. Do you know Art
He's a
Foley?
good guy.
Anyways, it's almost gone, folks. I'm 76, Mary's 77. You got us for another 10, 15, 20 years. Take advantage of it.
We will.
Heather, let's go on.
Okay, well, I think we'll be hearing lots more about that Alzheimer's drug in the news. I'm sure you'll want to comment about it more.
It's the epitome of profit over patience. You must understand.
Yeah, but you see, for me, the way I look at it is, I realize they're in it to make money, but I mean, they have people that are so desperate that they'll do anything So the money doesn't even matter to the people.
Well, but they're not even sure this drug works.
Well, I
That's
know
all, that's
that,
all, that's
but
all.
it's-
They're certainly not sure it does more good than harm. And a drug that came out and the FDA approved a year before, sorry, I can't remember the name, to treat Alzheimer's cost $56,000. And the controversy was so great worldwide of neurologists and other doctors who said, you cannot release this on the public. This is dangerous to the public to release this drug. And they got it stopped for a while. But, lobbyists and money and so on got that guy approved too. It doesn't matter. We've talked about the diabetic drugs. All you have to do is show it lowers blood sugar. It can kill you, and they do. But as long as it lowers blood sugar and they can advertise it for that reason, then they're going to approve it and they're going to sell it to you. And good grief, they're not going to mention food. You're a quack. I've been at this for a long time. Not too long, but a long time. Questions, Heather?
Okay, here we go. We've got lots of them coming in. This is from Green Smoothie Party. They are wondering if a previously overweight person can somehow reduce the number of fat cells in their body.
No. No, the number of fat cells you have are found at birth. At most, they increase a tiny amount in number. They just increase in size. You just stuff them fuller and fuller and fuller. But as far as the actual number, it's pretty much the
So you
same.
can shrink them.
You can shrink.
But when they do liposuction, don't they actually pull fat cells out?
Yeah, then you get rid of fat cells. With cryosurgery, lasers, liposuction, surgery, where they take a bunch of fat out with a knife. Yeah, you remove fat cells that way.
But
But
normally,
normally you're born with that.
Alright.
I have no same number of fat cells today as I did when I was born.
okay.
I think so. You shrink them. That's all you do. You should just stuff it up with fat. The fat you eat, the fat you eat. It's the food.
Thank you. Next question. Someone wrote in, they were wondering if you have any information on the Epstein-Barr virus.
A little bit, it's been a while since I've looked at that subject. But we used to think that Epstein-Barr caused mononucleosis, and it also caused chronic fatigue syndrome. It's been blamed for a whole bunch of things. It's a virus that occurs pretty much ubiquitously across the population. In other words, a lot of people have it. And it was kind of a virus looking for a disease for a long time. And they've associated, as they say, with chronic fatigue and with Epstein-Barr virus is associated with.
What is
Mononucleosis.
Epstein-Barr?
Well, Epstein-Barr is probably some guy's name. Epstein and Barr discovered it. We used to name things after researchers, scientists, to show some respect, like we have, we have Burkitt's lymphoma. I've talked to you about Burkitt's lymphoma. And, they all got, they were given, the researchers that discovered and popularized various things, they used to get their name attached to it, as does people with dietary approaches, like the Atkins diet.
Okay.
And the Pritikin diet and the McDougall diet. But you see, we've developed a society where we don't really care to give credit to people who make these paramount discoveries. And I understand, this is human nature. We don't really want to give other people credit or energy, or it's just the way it is. And it's gotten really bad with universities across the world, because they'll take a diet, say the Pritikin diet, or the Atkins diet, and they will make a few changes, enough so that they can claim originality, and then they'll call it the OSU diet or the Michigan State diet or whatever. We discovered it. First they say it's not true. That's the development of an idea. The first thing it said is an idea is not true. And then when the truth has been proved beyond any doubt, they say it may be true, but it's not important. And that's where we are today with diet. It's true the diet causes all these problems, but it's not important because you won't do it. And once they decide you'll do it, and you'll pay them money for it, and they're going to say, guess what? We invented this. No, you didn't. I didn't do it either. I didn't invent it either, but I tell you that all the time. I tell you about my mentors. I want to give credit where credit's due. takes a little burden off me. Also makes it more believable that I wasn't the only one that discovered this. You know, this would be kind of weird if I thought that God talked to me personally and, you know, gave me all this insight information to make me a genius to the world. I not only do I not want that credit, you wouldn't believe me as much. You'd think I've got some kind of egotistical, not very good scientist. But if I can look back at people who came before me, and I can show how these ideas have been built and what they've learned and taught and brought forward, then you're going to believe me more. You're going to believe me if I told you that Roy Swank showed you how to stop multiple sclerosis. Nathan Pritikin showed you how to cure heart disease. Dennis Burkitt told you that fiber was the problem. You know, these Walter Kempner, he cured obesity, you know,
And
type 2 diabetes
yeah.
and rheumatoid arthritis and kidney failure at Duke University. I got 7 decades of Duke's work to rely upon to make you believe me. He was there for 7 decades. For 2 decades, he supported Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. Kempner did. You go, whoa, this McDougall, he's very good. He stands on the shoulders of these wonderful people. We're going to believe him. You're going to believe me, but because I'm just taking my refinement forward. But I would like to add one thing. I haven't done this in a while, Mary, so I'm going to do it.
Oh, no.
I knew 2 of Roy Swank's wives. I had dinner with he and his wives twice. I knew Nathan Pritikin's wife. Walter Kempner was never married. And Dennis Burkitt, you know, I never met his wife. He was married, but I knew about her cooking. And I can tell you that these 4 men whose shoulders I stand on, they were geniuses. I mean, they were the basic researchers. There's no question. I mean, you go to OHSU and you go through the neurology department, their staff, when they see the picture of Roy Swank, they say genius. And he was. But I have one thing that then none of these 4 men had. You know what that is? That's Mary. I knew all their wives. I knew their cooking skills. I knew what happened to their kitchen. They didn't have anything that was close to being palatable offered to them or to their patients. And this is where Mary has added so much to the program. As I said, look, this is the problem I have with taking care of my patients. Will you help me? Will you make it so that our family would eat this way? And that's the attitude we went about this, 47 years ago, is we would not present for you any recipes that we didn't enjoy in our own home. And Mary stepped to the plate and she did it. In fact, when Mary gave the recipes to the Pritikin program that they still use. It was when he came out and visited us in Hawaii. I threw a big party for him at the Kaneohe Yacht Club. We walked he and his wife out to the parking lot, and we were talking about what a wonderful evening we had. And I said to Nathan Pritikin, I said, Mary has a gift for you. And she handed him 100 of her recipes and said, you can use these any way you want. If you get a copy of the Pritikin Promise, which is his second book, national second best-selling book, you read the acknowledgments, you'll see he acknowledged John and Mary McDougal for their contribution to the Pritikin program. Wrong. He should have just recognized Mary McDougal, because after that day, the Pritikin program had palatable recipes. Prior to that, no, it was not good. So
I just taught him what to do.
you gave him 100 of your best recipes, what you did, which was the right thing to do, because he was such a popular, important, powerful man. And he was in a position to make the world a better place, and unfortunately died. That's more than you wanted for any answer, I'm sure.
Really.
Well, it's better too much than not enough, right?
Well, do you remember the Kaneohe Yacht Club, Heather?
Oh, goodness. I grew up there. I have so many great memories of that place.
Yeah. Well, you were just talking to your brother a couple weeks ago. He says, he's got children the same age as when we sent you and your brother out in their little lasers sailing across the ocean by yourself.
Ourselves. I don't think we wore life jackets either.
Probably not.
Oh no, you didn't. I know you didn't wear suntan lotion because Patrick's nose is still burned. It was a different life. I'll tell you, it was a different life back then.
Yeah, what we didn't know back then. Okay, next question. This is from Carla. She wrote in and says she was just diagnosed with endometrial cancer. She's been following the diet. She's still overweight and is wondering what your thoughts are on a hysterectomy, chemo, and radiation.
Okay. Well, first thing is I want you to write this down. Read my November 2011 newsletter. November 2011. Oh.
Yeah.
No, I think that's the Steve Jobs one.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
I'll have to look
Forgot
it
the
up.
newsletter.
I
That's
forgot
a first.
I'll try and think of it.
Okay.
Anyway, it's about abuse from fellow medical doctors, and it was a doctor who was seeing one of my patients because she had uterine cancer.
Oh, the lady with the
Yeah.
ovarian cancer.
Oh, uterine
Yeah.
cancer.
Well, okay, I know who you mean.
Yeah, she went on many trips with us.
Mhm.
Anyway, she had uterine cancer. It was an early uterine cancer, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor wanted to do a hysterectomy on her. And I had been treating her without a hysterectomy for probably a decade because it was such early disease. And the doctor got mad at me and threatened to turn me into the licensing board and my medical school and all kinds of things. So I wrote her a letter. I said, you obviously must believe strongly in doing a hysterectomy. I said, would you like to provide me with the research that says what you're recommending works? In other words, that my patients stay alive longer. She sent me a bunch of garbage. None of the stuff showed in any way any relationship between outcomes beneficial and surgery and uterine cancer. Anyway, I went through the research with the patient and her, and she started swearing at me like a drunken sailor. And I told her, I said, I'm going to turn you into your licensing board. And the only reason I didn't was because the patient asked me not to, because this woman was dealing malpractice. The truth of the matter is we've been doing hysterectomies for uterine cancer for, well, at least 55 years that I've been in the business. We've done hundreds of thousands, if not in the millions, of these operations. There's not a single study done that shows that surgery prolongs life. None. We have studies on breast cancer that show treatments, radiation, and surgery does not prolong life. We have studies on prostate cancer that show that surgery, radiation, and hormones do not prolong life. But on uterine cancer, which is something only women get, we have not a single study that shows, just like with lung cancer, there's not a single study that shows that treating early lung cancer saves lives. And I ask my colleagues, look, you've had 1 million people, you've had opportunities to do randomized controlled trials. If you had in any way thought what you did worked, in other words, caused the patients to live longer and better, then you would have studied it to put it in your ads. You haven't done it. Why? Because they know the outcome. They know the answer. They know the natural history of cancer. They know it doesn't work, just like it didn't work for breast, didn't work for prostate. It doesn't work for uterine cancer. And you can read the history. Anyway, this patient's
October 2011. I found it.
Oh,
what is it? Is it November?
October.
2000. Thank you.
You know what I think part of it is that when women get to be a certain age,
Yeah.
and or when they develop, fibroids or endometriosis or whatever, the first thing the doctor says to them, well, you're over a certain age, you don't need that uterus anymore. We might as well just take it out, and then you won't have to worry about it anymore.
You're done having babies, lady. We might as well just throw this thing away. It's
It's
a throwaway organ. I think there's.
I've heard so many people in the doctor's office I worked in. I heard people get told that.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that that's what they say to them.
Yeah.
It's just not fair.
Well,
And it's not that true. I mean, if you take it out, there's something's missing.
well, there is something missing. First of all, you're missing part of your anatomy. So sexual relationships change, not in a positive way. You're missing hormones that are produced by the uterus, which prevent heart disease. You're missing estrogens that are produced by the uterus. Even if you leave the ovaries, we're talking about leaving the ovaries that have a positive influence on your body. Just the anatomy, you've changed the anatomy of the pelvis. So, some organs are fitting in a different position because you've taken this uterus out. This is the title of the book, chapter 10, in the McDougall Program for Women. The title of the book, the chapter 10, is "The Uterus is Not a Throwaway Organ." Look it up. I wrote it. Anyway, yeah, okay, let's get back to your question. There's no evidence that surgery is going to prolong your life. You need to ask the doctor, just like I do with every doctor I deal with on your behalf. And, people who attend the 12-day program, I often get on their behalf and I talk to their doctors. Just show me a single study, just one randomized control trial. And then they stop talking. Oh, well, because they know that I know, or I know where it's going next. Anyway, as far as hormone therapy, progesterones can be given in endometrial, early uterine changes. Now, I forget whether you asked about endometriosis, or I think Heather asked for both, endometriosis or uterine cancer. They're two different problems.
Well, the question was about endometrial cancer.
Endometrial cancer, right? I thought we were going endometriosis. Anyway, you give progesterones for early stage endometrial changes, which are precancers. And the progesterone is very effective, well-studied therapy. Your doctor has prescribed it or will prescribe it. So talk to them about progesterone derivatives or hormones. As far as radiation goes, the same thing. It's just gonna cause you problems. It's not gonna make you live longer, period. The thing that kills is the disease that's spread to other parts of the body. How would taking out the uterus benefit disease that's spread to the other parts of the body? How would radiating the uterus and destroying it benefit disease that's affected the other part of the body? It's spread. It's called metastasis. If you're going to die of the cancer, it's spread a decade before you even find it. And that's shocking, isn't it? This is a 10-year-old disease by the time a PSA can become positive for prostate cancer. It's been growing for 10 years.
Well, this is something that's really never dealt with.
Most
Because
doctors
if you
don't
think
know
of any kind of cancer, almost,
Yeah.
the first indication is let's take it out.
Right.
Let's get rid of it.
And that may sound logical because it kills. You see the obvious disease and it kills. But what you don't think about is the fact that most of this disease has occurred unbeknownst to you or the doctor. 2/3 of the disease has happened before it's discovered. So, speaking to this woman, she's had uterine cancer on average 10 years, if it's really truly cancerous at that stage. I get the feeling that it's quite early. And, if it's the kind that's going to spread, it's already spread. If the kind that's not, it's not going to spread. If you're going to die of something else first, then you're going to die of something else first. But the question that needs to be answered is, do you have any evidence, doctor, that what you're recommending will prolong my life? What you want is randomized controlled trials. What you want. And when they're done, there's all kinds of observational stuff out there, all kinds of guesses and hunches. But when they put it to the test, they do randomized controlled trials, as they did in January of this year for radiation therapy for a woman who has breast cancer. It showed it does not help to add radiation to a lumpectomy. January of 2023. When we did the study, October 22nd, 2022, on colonoscopies, and we studied it for 10 years, 50,000 patients, there was no survival benefit for those who got colonoscopies compared to those who didn't. When you put it to the test, the randomized control trial, it fails. That's why they haven't done randomized control trials, I believe, is because they already know the outcome. And you continue to push this dangerous stuff on people if you never had to ask the question and get the proper answers. They can get away with it, and they do. This is billions of dollars in money.
Ready for the next question?
Sure.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about aluminum. And so the question is coming up about pots and pans. So this might be a question more for you, Mom. Do you have some recommendations for your favorite pans? And then can you talk a little bit about how a lot of pans still have aluminum in it, but when that's okay.
Well, almost all pans contain some amount of aluminum because aluminum is a great heat conductor.
Wait. How about stainless steel? How about copper?
Well, I think there's still
How about iron?
I don't know about it.
I have to stop right
Okay,
there.
all right.
There are lots of pans. How about ceramic?
They all have aluminum
Well,
underneath
you're
there.
talking about ceramic, you're talking about ceramic coated. I'm talking about a whole pot that's ceramic.
I don't think they make such a
Oh,
thing.
how about stainless steel? I just had
I
a
know,
soup.
but I still think there's
There's no aluminum. There is no aluminum in that stainless steel can.
All right.
But go ahead. I know what you were going to say. You were going to say those who have non-stick surfaces all have aluminum.
They have aluminum underneath because
Yeah.
it conducts heat so well.
It's great stuff.
And I think if you go look at my
You think
stainless steel
that's
can,
it?
it's got aluminum in between the
She's probably
layers,
right.
the layers of stainless steel
All right,
because
all right.
it conducts heat.
I
right.
will say that I overspoke. But I bet I can find a stainless steel
Well, I
pan.
could find out.
But I think the one I watched last night did, because I saw it had kind of a thing on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead.
You
Mary.
did scrub my stainless steel pan last night, so
I
You
didn't scrub any aluminum, did I?
no, you didn't.
It was all stainless steel.
But you're not supposed to scrub aluminum. It's sandwiched
outside.
in between these layers
All right,
of stainless steel.
okay, go ahead.
Okay.
She's ready.
But almost all pans these days now have some kind of a covering over the stainless or the aluminum. So it's either ceramic or let's see. what
Diamond
else.
dust.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's called diamond, Swiss diamond. So it's actually little broken up pieces of diamonds that are put into the ceramic top. So they're coated with some kind of an enamel coating. So anything that keeps the aluminum away from the food is what you're looking for.
So don't cook on the bottom of the pan.
No, you can't even get to it. It's usually covered.
I could fry hot dogs on the top of the pan.
You don't.
Go ahead, I know.
I think you're just being difficult.
I'm giving you a hard time, yeah.
So I don't think I have a favorite, Heather. I used to use scan
Burnt
pans all the time. Burn desks. I don't even know if you can find those anymore. But they were all a coating. These days, ceramic cookware is much more popular. It's a real heavy duty. Supposedly you can use metal utensils in it, even though I never do. And I don't know that I have a favorite. There are so many these days. And, if you want to get a cheap throwaway one, then they're coated with some kind of a non-toxic.
Well, they don't sell Teflon anymore, do
They
they?
don't sell Teflon anymore.
I wrote an article way back, maybe 25 years ago, about using Teflon cookware. And I pointed out that, your bird might die if you heated the pan to too high a temperature, and that these fluorocarbons are really toxic, cause cancer, all kinds of things. But what I did point out back then, and it's not any more appropriate or true, I did point out back then is that I have never seen a case of somebody dying from Teflon. But I see people every day dying from fat. So when you have to measure the potential toxicity from Teflon, which thank goodness they don't sell it anymore, versus dying of common dietary diseases due to fats and oils, when you weigh the two, that's why back then when we didn't have any choices, I recommended Teflon.
Yeah. Well, Heather, you use I think a different kind of pan than I do. Do you have a favorite one these days?
Well, I was just typing that in the chat. My favorites at the moment are a ceramic pan by Zwilling Henkels that I got
Okay.
on Amazon, but you could probably find it at a number of different cookware stores. And then Caraway is another line of pans that are ceramic. And I really like those. I'm using those right now. But that may change.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many out there that I always have 3 or 4 big pots. All my big pots are stainless steel. my big soup pots, the pots that I batch cook in, they're all made from stainless steel, and the insert to the Instapot is stainless steel.
And your rice cooker has a.
My rice cooker, yeah. So
We work real hard to stay away from aluminum. And we would never buy Teflon anymore.
Thank you. Okay, next question. What do you think about garlic pills to lower cholesterol?
The research says they work. You know, just like berberine and gugulipid and bile acid sequestering agents and statins and, you know, the new SQTP or whatever they're called, $10,000 a year type drugs that they're now selling. They all lower cholesterol, but they don't deal with the problem. The problem is the food. So what we see now, and basically every single article published on statins, show that they have an extremely little beneficial effect. You know, not the kind of drug that my colleagues used to recommend that we should put in the drinking water, because heart disease is so common and statins were such a wonderful miracle drug. Nobody says that anymore. Not if they're reading the current research. Yes, they lower the number, just like berberine and garlic and gugulipid. You know, they lower activated charcoal. These things all lower cholesterol numbers. But the real important point for you to understand is statin deficiency is not the problem. The problem's the food. So if you just lower one sign of food toxicity, which is your blood cholesterol goes up, it's just a sign. Just like if you have pneumonia, you get a fever, that's a sign. So if you start treating signs, you get into trouble. And that's what the blood pressure business is based on, and the diabetic business is based on, and the cholesterol business is based on. They're all based upon drugs that we have that make the numbers look better. And why do we use the drugs that make the numbers look better? Because we have them available.
and people want their numbers to look
They
better.
want their numbers. But if I told you, look, Mary, I can give you 60-point lower cholesterol, or I can guarantee you won't die of heart disease. What would you like to choose? You're going to die at the same rate with a cholesterol 60 points lower. You get to die with a cholesterol 60 points lower, or you get to live without heart disease. What would you like to choose?
I like to live without
So, all right. So you got to fix the problem. The problem's the food.
food. I know.
And elevated cholesterol is only one sign, just like elevated triglycerides are a sign. Elevated uric acid is a sign. These are all signs that your artery's in trouble. Elevated blood sugar, elevated blood pressure, being too fat. These are all signs. That's all they are. And if you run around stamping down signs, okay, let's take it one step further. Say you're out driving down the road, okay? And you come to this sign that says the bridge is out. You decide that the way you're going to handle this problem with a sign telling you the bridge is out, it's broken, there's a river down 100 feet below. How you're going to handle that is you're going to go to the trunk of your car, you're going to pull out your axe, and you're going to chop that sign down. And then you're going to drive across. Well, you got rid of the sign. You got rid of the sign. Come on. What do you think's going to happen? When you get rid of the signs, you don't fix the problem necessarily. The association between these signs and actual disease is tenuous. It is usually overblown when they first bring these drugs out because they want you to buy them. Just like the new arthritis drugs, they treat signs. They make the pain better, the swelling, the stiffness, but your joints deteriorate at the same rate. You end up having cancers and infections and all kinds of problems from treating the sign. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've made it really clear. We want you to stop treating the signs. We want you to treat the problem. The problem's the food. Fix the food. You'll see the results in 4 to 7 days. 12 days, which is one that we run the program as. I ran it at St. Helena Hospital for 16 years. 12-day hospital, 12-day program, one of the most famous hospitals in the world. I was at for 16 years. And, we changed people's diets and they got the cure. And you can see the cure in 12 days too. Program's free on the website. No cost, no gimmicks, it's free. Just look it up, free program. And with a little bit of effort, not much, a little bit, you can see that it works. You get better. pretty much always works. But I ain't going to guarantee it, Mary.
Good.
All right, because somebody's going to figure out a way to bust my guarantee. But it's pretty much a guarantee. You know, it's just like if you stop dropping bowling balls on your feet, guess what happens? Yeah, they stop hurting and they heal. When you stop shoveling that garbage in your mouth, guess what happens? Diet couldn't have anything to do with disease. I was taught that in medical school. And my colleagues still believe it. My friends still believe it. I know, because they're dying. Stroke, prostate cancer, inflammatory arthritis. They're dying. I'm free of all those problems. And it's because of the food, because I almost died in my 20s and I got wisdom. So I'm not going to do this anymore. This is stupid. Ring bologna ain't that good, folks. Pepperoni pizza ain't worth dying for. And you can figure that out too. You know what Mary and Heather and the rest of the team cooks. I'll tell you about what we're talking about the team. Let me just throw something in here. We had a nice time to talk to Scott Stoll, a plantician, this week on Instagram. And I broke my Instagram virginity this week. But it was fun. It was a live presentation about 100,000 people, Scott Stoll. And the reason I was on is because I've told you many times, and I'm very proud of it, is I'm getting an award, a luminary award, whatever that means. A luminary award.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me. I take any award I can get. It's September 10th in Desert Springs, California. And I'll be at the JW Marriott Hotel there, and there'll be 500 to 1,000 other physicians there who will say, you know, old man, you made a big difference, old man. Move aside. Us young guys are going to take over. That's okay. But they better not forget me. Just like I didn't forget Walter Kempner, Nathan Pritikin, Dennis Burkett, and Roy Swank, and a bunch of other people I'd love to tell you about. I didn't forget them. I stand on their shoulders. That's why you know what I teach is right, is because it's been around forever, and then multiple geniuses that have come to the same conclusions. Rich foods make people sick. The diet for the human being is based on starch with fruits and vegetables. I have a history of an army of researchers that'll tell you that not only am I right, but you're right in believing the McDougall program. Didn't just come from Mary's and my work.
Absolutely. Okay, next question. This is from Gina. She had type 2 diabetes, has controlled it with fruit, veggies, and starches. She's lost more than 50 pounds, but her doctors recommended she takes 2 milligrams of Perindopril. What's your opinion about that?
You've heard of it. Can you look it up?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember it.
I've never
What is it
heard of
used for? What is it used for? Did she say that?
Didn't say.
I'll spell it.
Perindopril. I've never heard of it, but there's so many new
Oh,
drugs.
you know, it's probably an ACE inhibitor blood pressure medication. That's what it is. There's 10,000 of them named. Yeah,
It is.
yeah, of course it is. I knew exactly what it was.
It's
There are also so many Deprils out there. For a moment, I lost my train of thought. You know, there's got to be 50 or 100 of them out there. They all start with the first few letters are different, and then they all end with Depril. And they're all ACE inhibitors, like lisinopril. That's the basic drug. It's lisinopril. It's for high blood pressure, and they give it to people who have some element of kidney disease. You want to treat high blood pressure with a diet. You want to listen to my YouTube presentation on high blood pressure, because it explains to you, you shouldn't treat high blood pressure unless it's really high. Like certainly it's got to be above 150 over 90, probably above 160 over 100, sustained for months. And then when you treat it, you got to be real careful. You got to use the right drug, which is chlorothalidone. You got to know you can't lower the pressure below, say, 140 over 85. You'll get into trouble, get more strokes, more heart attacks. So your doctor wants you to be on blood pressure pills. My guess is you don't have high blood pressure anymore. Why in the world would you take that pill? Just so the doctor can say, well, look at the great medical care I gave her. She had a stroke. I had her on blood pressure pills. How can you blame me? That's what they'd say. Not mentioning, I also had her on pork chops and cheesecakes. But that's not important because diet has nothing to do with disease. When she had a stroke, look, she was on Perindopril and 16 other drugs. I'm a great doctor. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're a drug pusher and you hurt your patients. You need to fix the problem. The problem's the food.
Thank you. Okay, you have some very strong opinions about protein and how much you need. And you say not to worry about it. However, the ADA recommends 1.2 grams to 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram for athletes to build muscle. What do you think about that?
Really? You know, if you needed high protein foods to build muscles, how would you have elephants or horses or giraffes? They're pretty muscular animals, seem to do okay. Carl Lewis set the world record for the 100-meter dash on the McDougall diet. The fastest man in the world set the record for the 100-meter dash on the McDougall diet. Set the world record for 3 long jumps, which I think still stand, on the McDougall diet. You know, there are many weightlifters. What's the name of the book? The movie out, Mary? Do you remember?
Game Changer.
Game Changer, yeah. It's about a bunch of bodybuilders, weightlifters. This is just silly. You know, if eating protein caused you to build muscle, then Americans would all look like bodybuilders because they eat 2-3 times as much protein as they need. If that protein, instead of it being filtered out with the kidneys, which it is, if that protein went to the muscles to build more muscle, we would have a bunch of overweight, sickly-looking people. They're all like bodybuilders. It's complete nonsense. And then they'll try and sell you the same nonsense in terms of a problem of older people who are very sensitive about getting old. Yes, we are. Sarcopenia. They tell you that as you get older, you lose muscle mass, you lose weight, you get older. Yeah, you do. And then they sell you a bunch of supplements. So they sell you high protein foods telling you that you're going to stop sarcopenia. Muscle penia, you know, getting smaller. Sarcopenia. You're going to stop sarcopenia by buying our supplements of amino acids. Or the meat industry, the dairy industry, the egg industry, they get together and they buy researchers who write papers. Don't do science. They write spin papers. They're trying to convince you that this is the way to deal with the problem. This is untrue. Again, the most muscular animals in the world are vegan. So you always can build muscle with vegetarian diets. And the American population does not look like Arnold Schwarzenegger used to look. True.
Definitely not.
I know one more thing. If eating muscle caused you to build muscle, then what would eating brains do? I don't have to buy Pravagen. I could just eat brains. I could probably go to the butcher shop and get cow brains. Well, I'd be smart as a cow. Don't want to do that. Well, how am I going to get human? I need genius brains. Oh, okay. Let's see. The kidneys.
Enough.
Can I do the
All right,
last
we've
one?
only got a few more minutes and a bunch more questions. So
I was going to say testicles.
I know that's where you were going.
Right?
All right. This next question's from Maxine. She's wondering if wearing a glucose monitor is a good idea or does it just create more stress?
It is over testing, over worry by instrumentation that ruins people's lives. Okay. In other words, using the monitors, what happens is you spend your life focused on the readings and the insulin that you're about to give, because they have pumps that you respond based on the blood sugar test. And they work together too, but they work individually too. So you have to get involved. And what the day goes like is this. Oh, Mary, what was your blood sugar 5 minutes ago? Oh, thank you. Oh, Mary, what was your blood sugar at 2 o'clock? Oh, that's good. How much insulin are you going to give yourself? Oh, we should probably go play with the grandkids. Oh, you're busy with your pup today. Oh, you got to clean it. Oh, I see. So in other words, you live around this pump. Throw it away. That's my advice to my patients when I see them is throw it out of your lives, because I can do as good in terms of preventing, I can do better in terms of preventing complications by giving you 1 or 2 shots a day of long-acting insulin called Lantus, even if you're a type 2 diabetic. Well, you're type 2, I can get rid of your disease. It's 100% curable. Okay. So why would I give you this complex way of treating your problem when it's been proved it's harmful? When it's been proved that you can take care of people simply. So they think about their blood sugar once a day or twice a day. Now, that's the way I want to live. I don't want to live strapped around a machine. That's the way I feel about it. Oh, you high techers, you're not going to like me at all. That's not true. You know, the way, if you're a diabetic, the way you live long is you fix the food, whether you're type 1 or type 2, and then you adequately control your blood sugar so it's not too low, because too low is dangerous. And not too high is okay too, even though too high is not dangerous. You want to argue about it?
Okay, next question. This is from Rad, and they're wondering if creatine supplements are safe to take or should I avoid them? They're worried about their kidney health.
What kind of supplements?
Creatine.
Oh, creatine.
Creatine.
Yeah, well, I think it's creatine. I don't think it's creatinine. Creatinine is the blood test that you get. Creatinine is a breakdown of muscle products. Creatine is a substance that's in meat. And I'd have to look it up, but I'm sure it's not worth your money. You know, if the idea is it's a supplement, creatine. The idea is it builds muscle, you know, good for body parts, et cetera. The research on creatine is pretty negative, but I haven't looked at it in a while. I'd have to review it to give you a good line. Look it up. Look it up. Go to Google, right? Creatine and adverse effects. What do you got there? Look up creatinine.
Yeah, creatine.
Why don't you look up creatine? Creatine. Take the IN out.
I did that, but this is what it gave me.
Creatine, that's it right there. Is a chemical waste product
of creatine.
No, that's creatine. Okay.
Well, see,
So creatine breaks
it's
down.
a chemical made by the body
Yes,
and is used to supply energy mainly to muscles.
that's creatinine. Creatine, a
Yeah, but
chemical
see-
waste product. See, creatine you eat,
Yeah.
or it's in the muscles. And it breaks down to
Right here
creatinine.
It says creatinine.
Next
is a
question.
Too much.
Look
yeah.
it up. Look it up. It's a supplement. And you know how I feel about supplements. And that's another reason I'm not very popular. Because a good share of my colleagues, they will give you a little good dietary advice, you know, eat a potato, don't eat meat. And then they'll say supplements on the side. They do. That's why they got more money than Mary and I do.
Right.
Okay, do you have any opinion on microplastics?
Oh, those little tiny pieces of plastic that are in the ocean?
They're everywhere. Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Oh,
Nothing special. Some of these plastics are associated with what we call xenoestrogens, which are new estrogens. They're actually, they produce hormone effects in the human body, and they come from plastics.
really?
Yeah.
If you ingest them, they.
Yeah, that's why, you know, the bottles, they've given a particular rating.
Oh, okay.
You know, this is not likely to reduce I think they're called phytates or phthalates. The pieces of plastic become phthalates. I bet if you look that up, you'll find out,
Yeah.
right? And the little pieces, they're little chemicals that all cause hormone problems in animals and people.
Yeah, I'm hearing more and more about them, and they're really everywhere. I don't think we can avoid them.
Everywhere.
Well, you know, fortunately, we live in a body that has the ability to resist a tremendous amount of abuse, Heather. So if we depended upon a clean world to survive, we would never make it, because it's never going to be that way again. But we're tough. The human body is absolutely tough. Puts up with 2 packs of cigarettes a day, half a bottle of whiskey a day, and hot dogs, and it lives. Amazing. Put up with a little bit of microplastic.
We've got to change the things that we have control over, and that's the food. So
That's the food.
But I do mean it. I mean, we all should be so thankful that we live in such an amazing organism that it puts up with so much abuse.
And that you can get your health back if you change the food that you give it.
Yeah. Why? Because the body's always trying to heal, never stops. You got cancer, you got a stroke, you got prostate cancer, you got rheumatoid arthritis, whatever. The body is always trying to heal. That's the natural state. It has to do with survival. It's a natural law. Never stops. You just got to take and pull back on the damage. That's all you have to do. And better yet, to stop the damage. And where's the damage come from? Fork and spoon. That's the source of the damage. It's the food. I tell you, I mean, how many times do I have to say this? I've been saying it for 47 years. And I love saying it, but it's a hard concept, folks. That's why we run the 12-day program. It's because it is a hard concept to get from where you are to where you know you want to be, to have the life that you want. If it was easy, I mean, everybody would do it from the free program we offer on our website. Or I can tell you in two sentences what the McDougall diet is. The McDougall diet is starches, vegetables, and fruits. The McDougall diet does not contain animal products or oils. That's it. Now you can get the more detailed version by going to the website for free. But if you would like, because we would like, we'll take care of you for 12 days, not just 12 days, for a whole year. We'll take care of you.
And longer.
And we'll give you medical care, and we'll get you off your drugs when appropriate. And we'll give you the kind of education and support and follow-up community support that you won't get anyplace else. We have people who for 3 years, they've been getting together every week with each other. And for 3 years, they've been getting together with us every 2 weeks. We've been doing this for 3 years as a telemedicine program, and they love it. And we love it. And that's just the way it is. We have fun.
Our next course is sold out, but we do have another course coming up.
You can stick one person in, can't you, Heather? Come on. I always squeeze you for another 2 or 3 people. And remember, I might bring a couple of my friends too. But that'd be great.
All right, we'll talk. Let's see. We'll see you all next Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. And we also have our series starting July 29th.
That's
the
fun.
McDougall's Medicine series. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll be sending out information on that in the coming weeks. Thanks, Mom and Dad, Dr. McDougall and Mary. Thanks, everyone.
See you next Sunday.
See you
Bye-bye.
next Sunday.